Start the recording. And we'd like to welcome Francine Dutrasac from Patton's office. She was with the LIU for many, many years, and we were so sorry to see her go, but now she has the ability to influence all across the state of Pennsylvania and beyond. So thank you so much for being here, Francine.
My pleasure. I love working with the field. I'm new at Patton. I started a year ago. It'll be a year in September already. What a year to be transferring to a new job. But just wanted to tell you that English learners are my world. They've been my world ever since I've been in Pennsylvania. And I've actually worked for IU 12 29 years. And within that time frame, I've been a family literacy parent educator. I'm just going to name them because it's family literacy assessment coordinator, preschool teacher, K-12 ESL, ESL coach, adult ESL that I still do, Title III coordinator. I worked as a PD ESL technical assistance facilitator. I also worked as an adjunct professor for Shippensburg University, teaching the program specialist ESL certificate courses. So as Lori said, I'm currently a Patton educational consultant, but I'm also the Patton English learner lead for the whole state. So please, please, please reach out to me. Part of my job is to build capacity at the local level. We are going into a year that is full of unknowns. So please be sure to reach out if you have any concerns. The easiest way to reach me, because of my last name being so difficult to remember, is that Patton created a dedicated email address for all things English learners, and it's quite simple, all lowercase, englishlearners@patton.net. So please take advantage of that. It's very important to me that we are having a conversation, and it's not just me doing the talking, even in our short time. The first slide, I wanted you to tell me who you are. So that's the first piece of engagement. I don't want to be just, coming with my already planned PowerPoint without making connections to who's in my audience. So I do understand that some of us are shyer than others, don't want to see ourselves on screen. I get that. I actually don't like to be on screen either, but here I am. So I am aware, and I will be sensitive to that. Some people don't want to use the chat box or don't want to unmute. Whatever way that you want to engage is fine. Just want you to be engaged in this Zoom as much as possible. The other piece is try and not look at your phone. My phone is literally turned off. Turned upside down. And I've also took my Outlook down so I wouldn't have messages that are showing up, because you're giving yourself the gift of PD. Honor all perspectives. I'm not sure that we will have any disagreement or multiple perspectives on that, but just be sure to be honoring of each other. And the last one is assume good intentions. I'm going to go look in the chat box, or are we having people say who they are? Yes, special educator, Phyllis Brown, nice to see you. I feel like romper room. Some of you are going, what? You don't even know what that is. But, oh, wonderful. We have a principal in our midst, a school psych at the elementary, so school psych, yay. K6, hi, Allie, and a Spanish teacher that is getting her school psych. Wonderful. And the other piece for those of you in schools that have a school psych background, Erica Caruter is at Patton Central and will now be in charge of the school psychologist initiative. Please reach out to her as well. All right. Why am I not moving now? Some good intentions. Okay. Lori, do you want to address this?
Yep, I think everybody knows by now, if you want your Act 48 at the very end of the day, complete the evaluation that includes all the sessions and make sure it's turned in by the end of the day on Friday.
So I have two outcomes. They're kind of wordy. We're going to spend a whole lot more time on the second bullet. But the bottom line is that we have a shared ownership for meeting the needs of English learners. In the old days, the ESL teacher was their children. It was just, English learners were, whatever was happening, it was the responsibility of ESL teachers. That's changed, but the culture still remains to a certain extent. And I would say that some of you are still dealing with that if you're a special ed teacher. They are, it needs to be a community. It needs to be the whole school that takes ownership of meeting the needs of English learners within a framework of systematic and culturally responsive MTSS. So the second part is I'm going to have you literally, I don't know, Lori, are we going to do breakout rooms or is it not worth it?
We can do them. It's up to you. I think we have 15 people. That would include you. So, if you want to do groups of 5 or 3 or something like that, we could.
Okay, let's do it. Because I think it's really important, more than what I'm saying, is to have you talk to each other and see what's going on in other locations. So just to frame the whole session is that for all students, the MTSS framework is providing a data-driven framework that supports students before they fail. That's the bottom line. So for English learners in Tier 1, it's very important that we have ELD instruction and not literacy instruction provided by an ESL teacher. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little while. In many schools, the ESL teacher is taking a reading group, and that's what they're doing. Is usually it's a heterogeneous group with more than L's in their group, and they're providing instruction in small settings for English learners. So when I worked at IU12, one of my hats was to support school districts in that were in our Title III consortium. And I would be asked to come and visit the school because they were concerned about an English learner in their school. And they weren't sure if it was a language difference or a possible learning disability. And the bottom line is that the issue was always at Tier 1. The issue was that the Tier 1 was offered was not robust, was not providing evidence-based practices for English learners, or ESL was totally provided in a vacuum, or ESL or ELD, it's the same thing, provided in a vacuum without collaboration, without being aligned to ELA or any other content area. So 80% of ELs should be able to grow their language and their literacy in Tier 1. And the 20% of English learners will need interventions. But the bottom line that we're seeing in literacy is that there is no attention given to what is now referred as translanguaging. So write that down, because this is, it's been around for a long time, but there seems, how the research starts getting traction. It's been there, but suddenly it's getting traction. Well, translanguaging is that Francine, when she reads anything, is bringing her life experiences, her sociocultural lens, like I'm middle class. I'm bringing trauma into my lens. Are you following where I'm going? So, and I'm bringing the languages I speak and I read in as I read something in English. Give you an example. If I'm assembling something, I don't only look at the English version, I will look at the French version and I will look at the Spanish version. And often all three will give me clarity. All right. So for English learners, we forget that they have life experiences, background in another country, um, experiences in their home that we can pull from. Those are called, it's asset-based, or if you're from the ESL world, it's called funds of knowledge. So the importance of bringing that into what we offer them is essential in Tier 1. Giving them mirrors in their education where they're seeing books that look like them, that are familiar, the setting is familiar to them, because that's the other piece of literacy, is that we're measuring with data, but if whatever was when they ask an L to read a cold text, the bottom line is, do they have the background? Did they ever see this? A text is written with an audience in mind. So the author wrote this text to an audience that often look like him or her. Are you following me? So because of that, an English learner does not have the life experiences that that author has and is already disadvantaged with lacking the connections to make comprehension out of that text and reading that text fluidly. There we go. So yes, 20% may need Tier 2. And yes, there are English learners, I'm sorry. There are, oops, I'm going backwards. There are English learners that will need Tier 3. I'm not saying that all L's are although I tend to think that, are all gifted and capable students. But the issue is that we will have students that will need additional, much more at the brain surgery, or that Dr. Collins often refer at the Tier 3 level, where it's high intensity, smaller group, so on and so forth. It's also about equitable access for all students. So we've talked about academic systems, but if you look now in our logo, it has equitable access for all students. Equity does not mean equal. And that's a very hard paradigm shift to have. So, you know, some school districts are preparing for next year where they're doing an EB type of setting where part of the schooling of the students will be face-to-face and another part will be remote. Remind yourself, remind your districts about the vulnerable populations that did not access the content. I know of a school district where 3,000 of their students did not access, not at all, did not access anything, didn't hear from them, couldn't find them. Either email was wrong, address was wrong, whatever it was the case, these students did not get any education since March. So this is one school district. So multiply that with, you know, how many schools, 500 school districts plus charter schools across the Commonwealth. We're dealing with large population of students that did not receive education since March. The other piece I wanted to share before we move to the behavior piece is that I often go to the, I'm involved in MTSS and I'm part of school now, moving on next year, virtual school visits. And I often look at the number of L's, and sometimes if they don't have an N of 20, they're not showing up, correct? But then I go look at their numbers of kids and the percentage of kids in special education. I'm going to be working with a district that has a 23.9% of their kids that are in special ed. So I know that this is not being implemented correctly. Okay, so those are, to me, the red flags in implementation that you need to consider. So the more we go up, the more it becomes smaller group and becomes more intense. Assessment becomes more frequent. We'll talk about progress monitoring and the importance of ensuring that kids are, English learners are, what we use for progress monitoring is, was normed with English learners. The behavior piece, I will not talk much about, except we will address family and community engagement. And often when issues of tier 1 happens and there are behavior issues, it's often because of acculturation. They are in the process of learning how to function in this culture without losing their own. And that process is often very emotional, can cause anger, so on and so forth. So often that is overlooked. And we're going to talk about family and community engagement in the activity that you'll be involved. So I will just say that that is crucial. We know that, but for English learners and their families, it has to look differently, okay? What I wanted to talk to you about today is use a tool that is really, really good, entitled Evidence-Based Practices for English Learners. It's from the Cedar Center, and if you want the bibliography link, it's right down here. What it does is that it looks at research. What is the research on evidence-based practices for English learners? And they provide recommendations along those 3 sections: academic instruction, progress monitoring, and family school partnerships. In a minute, we will divide you in 3 breakout sessions, and you'll be assigned to one of those sections. Lori, will they know which section they are being assigned to?
It'll pop up and they'll just click the link, and whoever they kind of get in with is the way it works.
Okay, so, but will they know if they are going to be looking? I would like to have breakout room 1 focus on section 1, okay.
Yes,
so,
it'll come up with a room number.
Okay, so breakout room 1 will focus on section 1, breakout room 2, etc. I don't need to be belaboring the point, but I wanted to make sure you were aware that this is page numbers in the document and not the PDF, so that you're aware of what that's going to look like. By the way, I could have made you look through another evidence-based practice, another innovation configuration tool that was developed for culturally responsive practices, but because we have such a small piece of small time, that I needed to focus on one piece. So please remember that it's the page number. The other piece, when you go into the document, you're going to say, well, that's just best practice. This would work for students with special needs. It would work for all kids. So the recommendation is in many cases applicable to all kids, but what's different is there are, like, for one recommendation, there are 4 sub recommendations. And the difference there is that those are essential for ELs and are critical for positive outcomes for these students. So that's the difference. I have often said that best practices that work for all kids, work for English learners, work for all kids. But if we do the other way, it doesn't always work for all kids, for English learners. Okay, let me turn my page side. Make sure I address everything. So how many of you are familiar with these tools, the innovation configuration? Can you answer that either by raising your hand or just writing yes in the chat box, so I have a sense of how much I need to support you? Anybody?
Can you repeat that question, Francine?
Sure. How many of you are familiar with the Cedar Center and their innovation configuration tools? Nobody. Okay. That helps me. I actually was wondering, oh, maybe they've seen this already. It is fabulous. And the part that is the most fabulous is when we come back together. I will draw your attention to a section that would be wonderful to use for professional development or even for program evaluation. So if you're thinking of MTSS and going, are we providing a robust tier 1 for our English learners or for all kids? You can use those tools, and they are created with MTSS in mind. So they are beautiful. Okay, so to go back to, I saw in the chat room that there were questions. So if you're assigned to breakout room 1, you will be focusing on academic instruction. If you're breakout room 2, progress monitoring, and breakout 3, family school partnership. So because I don't know if you have pulled the folder, but if you haven't, academic instruction starts on page 7. Progress monitoring, page 20, and family school partnerships is 36. Academic instruction has 5 recommendations and the sub recommendations under that. So it's perused. I'm going to give you about 20 minutes, and then we'll pull you back in. Whatever you get done is fine. This is not, I'm not expecting completion. I'm expecting a conversation that you will take then to your own LEA and have with your, with your peeps there. So, so again, 1, academic instruction, page 7, progress monitoring, page 20, and family school partnerships, 36. Progress monitoring also has 5 recommendations and all the sub recommendations under that. And family school partnerships, you have less. I think it's 3 recommendations with sub recommendations. If you get done before we call you back, how about focusing on what worked well in your LEA while remote learning? So how did you reach out to your English learners? What worked best? What did you do when you were hitting a wall, like you weren't getting any response? What did you try to do? And then we can brainstorm, because the bottom line, we're all going into an area we've never been before, and there's power in numbers. So, so for those of you who are focusing on family school partnership, if you have time, then please go ahead and consider what worked best and put it on your Google Doc. So in the Google Doc is going to look like this, maybe, yes. So breakout room, if you click on here in your Google Slides, it'll take you to the link, okay?
We don't have access to be able to click on that. Is there anywhere you can share the link in the chat box for us?
Okay, good idea. Where are you? Can somebody try and see if it works before we go anywhere? It looks like it. I see all my friends coming in.
Okay,
Okay,
good.
okay,
All right, then I'll go ahead and start the rooms, okay?
sure. So again, try and stay focused because you're going to have about 20 minutes. Lori, is there any way I can move from one room to the other just to give some um, to help in case they get stuck somewhere?
I don't know. I
Okay.
think, do you have the list of breakout rooms with being a co-host?
Uh, where would I find that?
Down on the bottom, does it say breakout rooms for you?
No,
Uh,
it's telling me to join breakout room 1 currently.
I don't know if I have a way to take you out of there. I've never done this before.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll make it. Actually, I will give you my phone number. How's that? I'll give you my phone number. If you get stuck, call me. 717-476-7382.
Okay.
All right?
Yeah.
See you soon.
Okay.
In some ways, they might feel more comfortable just being between.
Yeah.
I know it's possible because they did it.
Well, I know, like, I'm not assigned to a breakout room. So I can click on that. I can join any of them, I think. But I don't know why I didn't do that with you with being a co-host.
I don't know if that's asking too much. Okay, we'll see.
Did you click on the thing to go to group 1? It
No,
didn't.
I didn't.
Okay.
Because if anything, I would like to go to the family one because
I can
that's
do that. I
okay.
can move you to it. That
Okay.
was the third group, right?
Yes. Can you hear that? Could you hear
Uh,
the car going by making a whole lot of noise? I live on a corner.
oh, so you get it from all sides.
Uh-huh. And sometimes they're a little bit on the. I hear some noise, background noise from you too.
Yes, I'm sorry. It's my child. After 3 days of this,
Oh
it's a little much for him.
no, it's more of a like a hum.
Oh, that could be my computer. The fan on my computer is very loud. I don't know why.
So let me see. Did you send that to me? Um, the breakout room?
If you want to move to another room, what you can do when you're in that breakout room, there's a button at the bottom that says rejoin the big room.
Okay.
Do that and come back to me and I'll reassign you.
Okay. Oh, okay. But I'm not seeing it.
You don't see the join room 3?
No.
Hmm.
Ah, it says join breakout room. Okay.
Yep.
Now
Use with my students. Yeah. I have to unmute. It's okay.
Hi, Amy. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. My video's not working, but can you hear?
Okay. We went into breakout rooms to work on something.
Sure.
So what I can do, I don't know, did you see can you still see all of the chat? Or did it like start you over?
It started over again.
Okay, then let me share two resources with you quick.
Thank you.
There is a booklet from the Cedar Center called Evidence-Based Practices for English Learners.
Okay, cool.
And then there is a Google Doc that groups are working on different sections to fill in.
Okay.
So the first group was working on academic instruction, group 2 was working on progress monitoring, and group 3 was working on family school engagement.
Okay.
You get a choice. Which one you want to do?
How about progress monitoring?
Sounds perfect. So I'll assign you to group 2. I think right now they might be reading their sections, and I'll tell you that section begins on page 20.
Okay.
Of that booklet. So if you pop in and they're not doing anything, that's what they're doing.
All right. Thank you.
Sure.
Right.
There, that should hopefully be sending you now.
Thank you.
I think we're back in our, are we back in our breakout again? Francine, I thought maybe we were, I'll try again.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened either. I think I went into the full meeting, but now I think I'm back in a breakout room.
Yeah, I think I am too, Shannon. I'll try again. Oh, that says leave meeting. Give feedback. Hey, Lori. We're not sure how to get back in the big room. I can't hear you.
We're in the big room.
So if I hit leave meeting, I think
that gets you out of everything. Stay here.
all right.
I accidentally hit the end breakout room button 2 minutes early.
Okay. It's all good.
So
Okay.
people are coming back.
Because I tried to leave here too, and I'm like, wait, now I'm out of everything.
I want to apologize to everybody. I accidentally hit the button too early.
Hey, listen, you know my mantra, grace, mercy, peace, and love, my friend. That's what we're
My
about.
first time doing breakout rooms. I'm surprised I even got you there.
It was
Good
awesome.
job. Good job.
So are you just bringing everybody back in now, Lori?
They should be, yeah. I don't see Francine yet, so we'll hang on.
And she came into ours just to say she wasn't sure where you were. So she just wanted us to leave. So yeah. Hopefully she didn't hit leave meeting.
Yep, hang on, I'll get it and send it to you. Francine got kicked out. Okay, bye. So I gotta send it to her again.
Lori, we're down to 10 participants, so maybe many people did that.
Oh no.
It's okay, they'll jump back on. And we're at 11:45-ish, 47.
Yeah. Okay, so Francine should be back with us in just a second. I feel like I must have done something wrong because it was like that whole group that must have got knocked out.
I'm sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen.
Francine, I'm not sure if I didn't do something wrong because first of all, I ended the breakout rooms 2 minutes too early by accidentally hitting that. And then it seemed like a whole group of people went missing. So I think I hit something wrong for one of the groups or something.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. PowerPoint. I need to have permission, Lori, to share. So I wasn't sure how it was working. I get the impression that it wasn't providing you with enough time to dig in. But I wanted to draw your attention to the fact that they're all listed in Appendix A. So if you go to the evidence-based practices for English learners, they have the innovation configuration matrix where they're providing you with all the recommendations and then showing, like, being able to say what it's like a rubric, right? The level of implementation, not at all too fully implemented. So let me pull down. And then the last appendix is providing you with the research. I don't know if you're in your realm of influence. If you're asked what research supports this, they're all listed so that you're able to then provide them with the references that are supporting this. So I did look at your document. Let's see if we are, so what are the things that you learned so that we can, let's start with the academic instruction. What was your takeaway? Somebody from the team, if you would unmute and share with the group. Nobody.
Well, we didn't get very far, unfortunately.
Okay. Okay.
We kind of focused on that first recommendation and then found that we were already 10 minutes in. But we talked about one of our group members is a math teacher. And she said that it's easy to kind of weave in teaching vocabulary while giving a visual in math class. So that's kind of an easy thing to just incorporate. As I was reading, I was thinking about how we should be incorporating peer support and things like PALs more to develop that vocabulary. And then I was also thinking about, I've had a lot of conversations with teachers who I think just expect English learners to just be able to pick up things the way a native speaker would be able to, even though they're in intervention or whatnot. And we've had a lot of conversations about that. So I think just the need to develop that English oral language proficiency is really important. And I don't, that's kind of a conversation to have with teachers. And we didn't really get into part 2, but explicit, word strategies and things like that. But I think that's always kind of a conversation that I like to have with teachers because, especially if you don't see a lot of English learners, which is very possible. So that's all I have.
I will just piggyback on this and say interaction is crucial for English learners. If they don't get a chance to talk, interact with peers in heterogeneous groupings, yes, there is a need for homogeneous, but they need to be interacting with native English speakers that are better at speaking than they are. So if you always provide them with peers that are English learners as well, they're starting to speak ESLEs instead of English because they both have, imperfect language. But think of it as that English learners are capable learners. They are not half full, they're half empty, they're half full. They are capable learners that will produce the language of ideas in imperfect ways. Their ideas will be perfect, but it'll be the language of display is going to be imperfect. So the tolerating the imperfect English will allow them to bloom. Group 2. Somebody. Okay, it looks like maybe they were called elsewhere.
Group 2. I was just going to say we were in a similar situation. We just didn't have a whole lot of time to actually get beyond listing out what the kind of sub recommendations were and entering into discussion. I can speak from my own experience. I just started to mention that I think in our district, with regards to progress monitoring, for our ESL population, we really have a one-size-fits-all model, and that is largely conducted in what is not necessarily progress monitoring, but through the WIDA assessments, and not necessarily looking at language of origin on an ongoing basis either. So with that option number 1, I would say we probably do not have, in our district anyway, a system in place currently for monitoring student progress very well.
And the bottom line with interventions is, progress monitoring is that the ESL teacher has to be part of the multidisciplinary team. And that ESL teacher should be able to provide you with language use, like samples of language use. What can this English learner do beyond the WIDA access scores to show growth. Because what happens is if you're looking at a possible evaluation for a student, you have to look at language growth. And if the ESL teacher says, I am not seeing a child that is stagnant, I'm seeing a child that is flourishing, that language is just blooming, then it's not a learning disability. It could be a personality issue. Kids may not speak English, but they get the body language. There's some teachers that do not like English learners in their classroom, unfortunately. And they are getting the vibe and are not, language is an action, it's an interaction. And if I'm not interacting well with that teacher, I'm just closing down. I am literally closing up because I'm not feeling safe there. The other piece I wanted to make sure we were addressing is that primary language, monitoring that is going to be important if you're going to do an evaluation, if it's recent. If you're dealing with a student that has been in school all from the time of kindergarten, you're in 5th grade, primary language testing or assessment will only show you what they don't know. Very little about it. It won't be informing your decision making very well. Some school psychologists see the benefit of doing both to see if there is a language loss, but you're going to have to determine on a case-by-case basis if it's in the best interest of investing time and energy to do that. The other thing that we need to be aware of is that once English learners have been reclassified, are now no longer receiving ESL services, that they need to be monitored now under ESSA for 4 years. And it's more than just checking report cards and going, yeah, they're doing fine. They're usually the kids that are falling, flailing, and the importance of monitoring those students in ways that will support them. The bottom line is that it's a transition from receiving ESL services and that ESL safety net where it's a small group where they know each other to a large group where sometimes they lost their peeps, the kids that they felt comfortable with. So the importance of ensuring that we continue to provide them with a mentor as they transition into, so that they don't fall apart. Okay, and then what else did I need to tell you? Importance of student ecology, knowing like the literacy practices of the family, learning about what brought them here. Was there trauma? Did they go through trauma? Do they have, many of our kids are going to suffer from traumatic experiences like food insecurities, so on and so forth. I want to give a voice to the third group. So if the third group would, I'm looking at the clock, I've got 2 minutes. So I want to make sure to hear from the third group.
Okay, I was in the third group.
Thank you.
Yes, and we began by talking about key is like what you also talked about, parent involvement and the culture and getting the parents on board as best as you can. Many of the students we work with, they could be brand new to the district, and you need to build that background knowledge with them and provide resources for the parents. I worked with, personally, I worked with a student last year, wonderful little girl. She was an English language learner, and maybe 4th grade, she was reading about 2 grades below. I worked with a program called Read Naturally. She loved it, and she worked with another student who was also an English language learner. And they were great buddies and team paired together. And the resources, and I saw a lot of growth. And also I worked during the pandemic situation. I contacted her mom. It took some doing, a lot of phone calls to get her mom on board with having her participate with her classroom teacher through Zoom sessions. And that was really kind of successful. And a lot of times you have to think that these children are very transit. And I was really sad because I'm happy for her, but she moved to Florida. So I won't get to see this lovely, beautiful little girl again. really, really sweetheart, and just really being sensitive to them. We also talked about activities that you could provide for parents, such as one of the ladies mentioned, Friday fun activities. Several years ago, I worked in a school where we had a multicultural night, and it was great. We had such a great turnout of parents, and all the teachers provided different activities and materials, including the students, to promote, and to embrace their cultures and diversity. I think that was great, and it got the parents on board. That was something we did a couple of years ago in a school I worked with.
I will need to, excuse me, interrupt, because we have 1 minute and I don't want to keep you after the session ends. But one thing that I would guard you is that it's once and done. Multicultural nights are once and done. And what English learners need to see is that it's embedded in the curriculum, where they're seeing themselves mirrored in what they're being taught, that there is connections to who I am and I matter, I belong. All of that, it works really well together.
Right.
Family literacy programs are excellent, as long as we as a school are not saying this is what you need, but we open the door for them to say, what is it that you need? And let's see if we can meet it. And one of them might be computer literacy. So if you're having issues with families not connecting, it might be that they're overwhelmed by what we're using to connect with them. Like, look at your LMS. How many have you offered, you as parents in the audience, how many of you had to deal with 3, 4, 5 different passwords, 5 different ways of teachers providing instruction? It'll be the same for them. I thought I had turned it off, but I didn't. Sorry about that. So the other piece I wanted to say is, for those of you who are going, you made me feel uncomfortable sharing, since I said that school district had 3,000 students that didn't connect. But what I would recommend you do is start with what they're familiar with. Latinx families use WhatsApp, tend to use generally the WhatsApp. They tend to use Facebook. So if you're not having success, why not use something that they already are familiar with, so that you're able to connect with them? And I want to go back to the PowerPoint, because I want to share just a few more. Hold on here. Too many tabs here. Where are you? Okay. So my parting gift to you is the following. Let's see if I can get to my. Moving forward, Maslow before Bloom. That's probably the biggest piece. Your English learners, you're gonna have to ensure that their basic needs are met, that, whatever is going in the family. They've had 2 pandemics this year, not only the COVID pandemic, but also the Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement. It's been, some of our families, the immigration story has abuse involved in it. So being sure that we have that as the, making sure they feel like they belong, that they matter as individuals, that we really do see them, is going to be crucial as we move forward. Amplify content, but simplify access. So how you provide instruction, make sure that you teach grade level content with supports, the scaffolds necessary for them to be successful. Even though they read 2 or 3 levels below, they need to see grade level text and be able to see the content that's taught for that grade. Acceleration, not remediation only. They did lose, some of them lost from March to May, where they didn't get instruction. But if we try to pre-teach that at the beginning of the school year, we're going to lose them, especially at the secondary level. So teach grade level content with in-time supports. So for example, let's say that you teach fractions in the spring and they missed fractions. It comes back in the school year this year. You wait until that unit to provide the in-time supports rather than teach it all at the beginning of the school year, hoping you catch them up. Does that make sense? And at the bottom of the PowerPoint, TNTP has provided a learning acceleration guide, a school leader's guide, and a teacher's guide. And those would be excellent to share, because there will be teachers that will try and cram all the things that were not taught or that kids did not learn during the pause. And the issue is this TNTP is based on Hurricane Katrina's kids that did not go to school for multiple months. And what they learned is that school districts that did in-time supports caught the kids, but those that tried to teach it all at the beginning, they were not successful. Greater collaboration is going to be needed as we move forward. The more we can collaborate, the better it's going to be. And I'm really past time. I'm sorry. This is my last slide. So be sure to reach out to me directly. There you have my email and my phone number, and you also have the dedicated email account. I have given you pages of resources, and I'm like, should I, shouldn't I, should I, shouldn't I? Because we are overloaded right now. So the bottom line is simplify, but if you put it anywhere, I have resources for special ed. I have resources for, tons. I'm talking tons. This is all for English learners with significant cognitive disabilities. We didn't talk about them very well, but there's a lot, they're a focus now. And reach out to me. And I wish you all the best. I know I'm down to 4 people, but I wish you all the very best for this coming school year. Take care.